Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Kermitment, episode 10. It's this podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we watched the movie The Frog Prince. And we also watched Carol Spinney's appearance on To Tell the Truth and a short clip from the TV special Pure Goldie, which unfortunately doesn't seem to be available anywhere in full, aside from actually going to the Paley Center for Media, which, we can't do right now.
Come on, Paley Center. Throw us a bone.
Yeah.
Upload something.
Yeah, just like PaleyCenter.com. Just everything.
Yeah.
I'll pay a subscription fee if I have to.
They have stuff that's not just... I don't actually know what the Paley Center is. Do they have stuff that's not just Muppet stuff?
Yeah, they're like a museum of TV kind of thing. They used to be called something more similar to that of Museum of Television or Radio. And
Is this a thing in Chicago?
I think it's in New York.
Oh, okay.
But they changed their name to Paley Center for Media as they started to embrace more things than just TV and radio. But yeah, maybe someday we'll take our Magic Muppet road trip and visit the Center for Puppetry Arts in Atlanta and then the Paley Center in New York and all these places, but not today. And with these, we are squarely in mid-1971 with The Frog Prince airing in May 1971. Pure Goldie aired, it seems, in February 1971, and the To Tell the Truth episode seems to have aired sometime after Pure Goldie, but not entirely sure when, because they mentioned the Goldie Hawn special in that, but no clue other than that. We'll be covering the rest of 1971 in our next episode, but I wanted to mention that the last two Ed Sullivan Show appearances also happened during the first half of 1971. And we talked about those back in episode 3. So we already covered those.
Was that Octopus's Garden was one of those?
That was the Wild String Quartet.
Oh.
Where Menomina shows up and ruins everything.
Uh-huh.
And then the Glutton, which was the terrible giant puppet who eats food. And that's pretty much the whole joke.
Yeah. Then they said, time to hang it up.
Yeah. The Glutton just killed the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah. After
they're like,
40
oh, God,
years.
What have we done? We also watched it was basically just like a 2-minute long clip, a little introduction to a special documentary that was made by the CBC in January 1971. They did a full documentary episode on Sesame Street called Seeds of Sesame that could not find to watch the whole thing.
I think it's also at the Paley Center, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it said that underneath the video.
Yeah. But we were able to watch the 2-minute intro, and it seems sort of like the Street Gang of its day.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that. And I know I just watched Street Gang last night for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Highly recommend. But there is actually a clip from that CBC intro in Street Gang. So I know that there's probably other clips from that CBC documentary that are strewn throughout Street Gang as well.
I bet the whole thing exists somewhere. It looked like it was in really good shape, so...
Yeah, that was one of the things when watching Street Gang last night. The rental copy is a 4K copy, and they have fully restored some of the early Wilkins commercials and Wilson's Meat commercials and stuff, and they look so good that I'm like, I know it'll never happen, but I want you to release 4K Wilkins Coffee Blu-rays or whatever, solely for us, I guess. But
though that is such an interesting documentary because they have so much seemingly random footage, they were just following people around filming them. I wonder how much of it did come from that documentary. I bet a lot of it did.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see when they have the footage of them performing one of the most famous sketches or something like that from Sesame Street. And you're just they just happened to be there that day that they filmed this groundbreaking moment in Sesame Street.
Yeah.
But yeah, I highly recommend Street Gang to anyone who, if you've made it this far into enjoying this podcast, I think you would also enjoy Street Gang quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. If you listen to us idiots talk about Sesame Street for 2 hours, then...
But Sam, before we get too far into what we're talking about this week, there's Muppet news. Breaking news.
Do I say it or do you say it?
I don't care. Say it.
You say it. I'm actually not sure I know the right one.
I'm talking about Muppet's Haunted Mansion.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah. There's a Muppet Haunted Mansion special coming out this fall, vaguely, sometime.
Yeah.
To Disney+.
We don't know anything about it. There's like a teaser, but it's just Gonzo and Pepe talking about how it's going to exist.
Yeah, the little summary that I found said that the Muppets Haunted Mansion special takes place on Halloween night. Gonzo gets challenged to spend an entire night in the Haunted Mansion, the iconic Disney theme park attraction, and you can probably guess how that turns out. Hopefully he'll have his trusty chicken Camilla along his side to keep him company.
Rude. Trusty chicken. I don't like that. His wife.
I have to say, would you prefer
She
like
is
lifelong
his wife.
companion?
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like it's going to be Gonzo focused, and that he's going to have to spend a night inside the ride of the Haunted Mansion. So it seems like it's bridging that gap of like Muppet content and Disney Parks content, which I'm all for, but I have a hard time imagining entirely what that means and how much like it's going to be telling the story sort of behind the Haunted Mansion.
It could be from anything from like the making of the ride or like this is how this works to like a recreation of the ride with live actors or who knows.
Yeah, I think they took advantage of the fact that like the parks were shut down for so long. So they like they could shoot this inside of the actual ride and probably rearrange things and take things out without disturbing the general public.
Will it be the Disney World Haunted Mansion? The Disneyland Haunted Mansion?
I would guess Disneyland.
Yeah, me too.
Just because it's the more classic one, and also that one was shut down for longer.
Oh, yeah. And the Muppets are probably like 20 miles away from that one, and they can just bring them over in like a crate.
Yeah, they don't have to fly them to Florida or anything.
Yeah.
There's a chance we'll do like a special Halloween bonus episode about that, like jump out of the timeline a little bit to discuss that, because I know we'll both watch it.
I think we need to.
Yeah.
I don't think we might. I think that's a guarantee.
My worry is that it'll like be released on Halloween, not before Halloween, and so then we'll end up having like a Halloween episode that's like 3 weeks late.
Oh shit.
So it really depends on when they decide to release this. They say just like fall this year, so hopefully it's a little bit before Halloween so we can have our episode up for Halloween, but who knows?
You'd be doing us a favor, Disney, if you released it about a week before Halloween, maybe.
I know that we are your number one concern, Disney / Henson. Oh, this is the only Muppet podcast that exists, so you should really you should care what we think.
We could all band together. All the Muppet podcasts could band
there
together.
We go.
The 6 of us could write them a letter that says...
Speaking of other Muppet podcasts and sort of an Ouroboros snake eating its tail moment, I was recently on Muppet Wiki, which we've credited many times for, helping this podcast exist, and it could not exist without Muppet Wiki. I was on there and saw a little tab for podcasts, and I scrolled down, and there's a fan podcast section. Guess who's there?
Are we there?
We're there. We are on Muppet Wiki.
I was about to say maybe our goal at this show should be to get on Muppet Wiki.
Too late.
Check. We did it.
Go to Muppet Wiki and search Sam Schultz.
Oh my God.
And it'll take you to the podcast results.
Oh no.
And you scroll way down.
Here's my live reaction. Hey, there's my name.
It's your name. I'm Muppet
They
Wiki.
even spelled it right.
Yeah, and they put the link to Kermitman.com.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
And everyone can see that we launched a month before the Muppet History podcast.
Yeah, real competitors. Well, we also launched like the same month as Muppet Up, 2 months after Muppetsational, like
what the heck?
Muppeturgy long. Like, I think as soon as Muppet Show hit Disney Plus, we obviously were not the only people to have this idea of a Muppet podcast. So
many launched in late 2020, early 2021.
Yeah, and I know there was a new one, Muppet Fans Talking, that just launched like a week ago. So we're not alone in this Muppet podcast space, but thank you to anyone who's listening to us if you're also listening to other Muppet podcasts, that's great. But thanks for listening to us specifically.
Yeah, God bless all Muppet podcasts.
So getting into what we watched this week, it was The Frog Prince, mostly, the TV special, that Sam is now going to tell us all about.
Kermit and his frog buddies are hopping around the pond one day when a little shrimpy frog shows up, claiming not to be a frog at all, but a prince named Sir Robin the Brave. See, the nasty witch Tamanilla turned him into a frog because he trespassed into her enchanted forest glen to, I guess, just murder her friend Sweetums the ogre. No other real justification for his action besides he was just looking for a brave thing to do. So Tamanella tells him the spell can be broken if he befriends a princess and gets her to kiss him. Luckily, Kermit and company live right next to a castle, and in that castle lives Princess Melora. Unfortunately, she's also been cursed by Tamanella. Tamanella has tricked her father, the king, into thinking that she is his sister, but Melora knew the truth and threatened to expose her scheme. So Tamanella casts a spell on Melora that makes Melora's words all mixed up when she tries to say them, so that if you're an idiot, you can't understand what she's saying. But Robin isn't an idiot, and he can't understand her. So Robin and Melora have a meet cute, and she takes him as her pet, and they quickly figure out that each other is cursed, and Melora knows how to defeat the witch. Unfortunately, the thing she says to him about how to defeat her is the one thing he can't understand, and he doesn't have a lot of time to figure it out because Tamanilla has gotten the king to agree that she should become the queen until Melora's whole talking situation is figured out. And Tamanilla also swipes Robin and throws him in the dungeon so that Melora can't kiss him in the meantime. And that's also where she's keeping the ogre Sweetums, who wants to eat Robin very badly. So Kermit helps Robin escape from Sweetums, and they interrupt Tamanilla's coronation, and an army of frogs attacks her. It finally clicks that what Melora is telling Robin to do is to break the glass ball in Tamanilla's cane, and that will destroy her powers. So he does it, and she melts, and also turns into a bird for some reason. Melora kisses Robin, and he turns back into a prince, and they live happily ever after. Is that all that happens? I was kind of nodding off during this one.
Wow, that surprises me, actually.
Really?
You predicted you were going to hate this.
Yeah.
Did you?
I didn't love it. I liked the beginning. I liked the beginning of it quite a bit. I felt like it ran out of steam at the end. By the time they got to the dungeon where she's also keeping Sweetums, I was kind of just like, I don't know what to think about this anymore. But I really liked the beginning. But anyway, we can talk about it in a more orderly fashion than that. So just before we start talking about that too much, we also watched To Tell the Truth. So To Tell the Truth is a game show that ran from 1969 to 1978, which was like the golden age of game shows. In each round of To Tell the Truth, 3 people come out, and they all claim to be the same person, and that person is usually somebody with a weird job or a weird claim to fame. So then a panel of celebrities take turns asking them questions to try to trick the liars into revealing that they are lying about who they are, and they all vote at the end of all their questioning for who they think the real person is, and then the 3 contestants win money for each celebrity they trick, and they split it amongst the 3 of them. So this particular round had all 3 of the contestants pretending to be Carol Spinney, who is obviously the actor who plays Big Bird, which seems tricky because all of the panelists are television people, and they seem to be asking exactly the right questions to determine who the television person is, and also because Carol Spinney sounds exactly like freaking Big Bird. But in the end, real Carol, I guess, was maybe just too weird looking for them to guess was a children's entertainer, because most of the contestants guess a different person, and they all win a bunch of money, it seems like. And here's a little side fact for you. There's still a version of To Tell the Truth on TV right now, hosted by Anthony Anderson, and it's been on since 2016.
What?
I ain't heard of this at all.
Is it on the game show network?
No, it's on ABC.
Man, I have not had real TV for a while, apparently. Who's on it?
Exactly.
What kind of people go on this now?
Show anymore?
Because the internet exists and people know what people's faces look like.
Yeah, it would really diminish you'd have to get not famous people, which they did a lot.
Yeah, I think that was actually the core of it, was that they usually would have normal people with weird jobs and then occasionally celebrities. There's actually a mention in this episode, the celebrity judge panel ask the most specific boring questions that they know they can they're trying to win. That's fair, whatever. But when you're thinking about this being a game show that people are watching, asking questions about the actors union and do you know this guy? No? All right, you're not him. It's not
so weird.
It's not good for anybody watching at home.
Yeah. I love old game shows, though, so it was fun. That one's worth watching, I think. There's a great dating game, which is the first appearance of Pee Wee Herman. It's the first time that he was on TV playing that character, and he's just pretending to be a real person.
Why was the dating game the first outing of
I think
Pee
it
Wee
was like
Herman?
I think it was a little prank he was playing.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really good.
Had he done the stage version at that point?
I don't think so. I think he doesn't even have the costume. He's just kind of doing the voice. So
Amazing.
So yeah, he's just pretending to be like an adult child on the dating game, tricking all of these women who are like, "What the hell?"
Like, I will not choose him.
Yeah, and they don't. So
yeah. But we'll get to see Carol spinning on another game show in a couple episodes. He's on What's My Line as well.
That's what I was gonna say. That's a better show for him, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, the way they do it on that one is that What's My Line is a somewhat similar game show, but people only get to ask yes or no questions to try and figure out who somebody is. And they always had a blindfolded celebrity round where they had some ridiculously famous people on that show. If you look up old clips, there's like Muhammad Ali. In this episode, it's Big Bird. It's not specifically Carol Spinney who's competing. So they blindfold them and they bring out Big Bird. And what they do with the celebrity guests a lot is they do not let them talk because their voices are so...
Right, instantly familiar.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that more and if that works or not.
Okay, that sounds fun.
Yeah. We also we watched Pure Goldie, or at least a part of it.
So in the 70s, it was a big thing, as we will learn over the course of the next decades worth of Muppet appearances, to give celebrities and musicians variety show style TV specials. So Goldie Hawn had just left Laugh-In, I believe, after 3 seasons of being on that show, which was a vaudeville style comedy show that was also the most popular show on TV in the early 70s. And she'd also just gotten an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress for the movie Cactus Flower. So she was hot shit in the early 70s. And when you're hot shit in the early 70s, you get a variety show. And this one was called Pure Goldie. So the Muppets, I think, were in it a lot. She had a bunch of skits with them, but we only watched one tiny bit. Like we said, it's Goldie talking to Kermit, and she's teasing him that if she kisses him, he'll turn into a prince, which, if I'm remembering correctly, he does not want to do because he likes being a frog. So she kisses him, and she becomes a Muppet. And a couple of her laughing co-stars come out and talk to her about being a Muppet, and they try to kiss her to turn her back to a human, but they turn into Muppets too. They turn into Frackles, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
They turn into a couple Frackles from the Santa Claus thing. Then Goldie says that, this is the confusing part, she watches the Muppet Show, and in the Muppet Show, they sing Menomina, because it's a magic song that makes nice things happen. No fucking clue what she's talking about.
It's so weird. I paused it while watching and was like, wait a minute. She just said she watches the Muppet Show.
She's a liar, or from the future.
That show does not exist for another 5 years.
And I can't think of any time that they've sung Menomina as a magic song that makes nice things happen. Because they sing it on the Sesame Street, but it's not a magic song that makes nice things happen.
Yeah, at this point, we've seen it on Sesame Street, and we've seen it on The Ed Sullivan Show. But as far as I know, there was never context given to it as to why it is sung. And if there was, I've never heard the context being, it makes good things happen. Maybe you could just get away with saying that kind of shit in the 70s. That you're just like, oh yeah, this song is the happy song that everyone sings to make good things happen. People are like,
yeah.
All right, I guess that's true.
Yeah, they couldn't post a clip of it on Twitter and be like, what is Goldie talking about?
But her saying the words, The Muppet Show, is very confusing because she must be talking about Sesame Street.
Yeah, but you sent me that link to the Red Book, the Jim Henson Red Book website, which is like a transcription of his journal, which he was doing like a bullet journal, basically this is what happened to me every day. And I don't actually know what a bullet journal is. That might not be what it is. But he was writing a journal where he was like, this is what happened to me today. So in 1971, he was working on The Frog Prince, but he was also doing a lot of stage shows. So it's possible that he did some stage shows she saw where they did sing Menomina for that reason.
Maybe.
I don't know.
To me, my best guess is that she was referring to Sesame Street as The Muppet Show because she would know the Muppets more from their appearances on other things, as opposed to she's maybe not watching Sesame Street regularly, but she sees them on Sullivan and all these things. And so to her, Sesame Street is, it's a Muppet Show. It's not.
That's such a weird thing to call it, though, because they don't call themselves Muppets in Sesame Street.
I'm not saying it makes sense.
Okay.
I'm saying that's my best guess because it doesn't make sense at all that she would say The Muppet Show in 1971.
Does Goldie Hawn have a Twitter?
I don't think so. I would
doubt
guess
she does.
not.
Does
I
Kurt
feel like-
Russell have a Twitter?
I'm gonna guess neither of them are on social media unless they
Does
have like.
his son, who was in the Marvel thing, have a Twitter?
I'm guessing at this point probably not. He probably deleted it
Yeah, well,
after everyone attacked him for being an evil character.
yeah, that's true. Well, we need to talk to them about this.
I tweeted at like Muppet Wiki and some other Muppet accounts to see if anyone had an idea, and I heard back from somebody from the Muppet Turgy podcast who had the same guess of it's probably Sesame Street they're referencing, but who knows?
It's weird on Muppet Wiki entries and stuff because they don't even mention it at all.
And that's why I wanted to like have them confront it of like, hey, Muppet Wiki, what you
Yeah.
think?
What's going on?
Answer
here,
this,
Muppet
the hard
Wiki?
questions.
You don't want to talk about this, but we do, and we have to.
Yeah, we dig into the important details.
So that was that. That was pretty cute.
Yeah, I think it's got
Beautiful Day Monster in it as kind of a proto Fozzie Bear almost, which I thought was interesting.
he's got a lot more personality than we've seen from him in other things, and I really liked the like little bit we get, and I also like that the Muppets are like in their own world where they don't really care about the humans that much. Like they're just like, oh yeah, Goldie turned into a Muppet. That's hilarious. We're gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have Ruth Buzzy and Bob Dishy, who were two actors.
Oh, Bob Dishy
and-
might not have been on Laughing, but Ruth Buzzy was.
Yeah, Ruth Buzzy definitely was. But they come out to help Goldie Hawn, and they kiss her, and they both turn into Muppets. And my thought when they did that, they freak out, and
It's kind of horrible. The one lady screams like a real scream.
Ruth Buzzy like really, really screams and like collapses. My thought during that moment though was Bob Dishy has the best voice for a Muppet of like anyone because he's got this like, "Hey folks, how you doing?" Like almost a Groucho Marx voice, but he says like, "The kiss didn't work," and I was like, "Perfect Muppet voice. Like keep that man around." I don't think he ever does anything again with the Muppets, but
No.
I was like, "Oh yeah, that works. That voice coming out of that freckle." Perfect Muppet.
So then there wasn't a lot of context I looked up for 71 because I don't know, didn't have the gumption to do it. A lot of real world stuff is still happening, like the Vietnam War, for instance. But in Jim Henson World, he has just bought a flocking machine, according to the Henson Red Book, which is a machine that uses an electric charge to like glue fabric particles to things. And he will use this machine to start making characters like Miss Piggy, who are much more intricately foam carved. So they won't just look like raw foam. He can now apply a thin layer of fabric to them instead of trying to cover them up with like a big sheet of fleece.
Right, like you get that weird Miss Piggy texture or that Gonzo nose texture, like that little sort of like porous look that you get, and that's created by the flocking.
A more human skin texture.
I mean, sure, kinda.
And then also in 71, Disney World opens. So that will be important in 20 years.
Yeah, we'll eventually get to talk about the Muppets going to Disney World.
Which was one of the first Muppet things that I watched over and over again. I'm very excited about.
It's
but
very good.
not yet. So yeah, we can hop all the way back. Hop like a frog.
Yeah, I get it.
To the Frog Prince. Tell me what you thought about it.
I liked it a lot, actually. I think I liked it more than Hey Cinderella for sure.
Oh yeah, Hey Cinderella is bad though.
To me, this felt like sort of the refined version of Hey Cinderella in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It seems like they took a lot of what they learned from the cheapness of Hey Cinderella and maybe the less great writing of Hey Cinderella and refined that into this story that felt more, I guess, natural to do, because we talked a little bit about like, Hey Cinderella feels like you're forcing this Muppet thing into a Cinderella story.
Yeah.
And with this, making it the Frog Prince and having a bunch of frogs show up just feels way more natural to include Muppets.
Right. And having a limited amount of human actors in it. They only got the 2, and for most of it, they only actually just got Princess Melora. That is also a definite improvement to the weird mishmash and humans wearing Muppet heads for some reason of Hey Cinderella. And it doesn't look cheap. It looks freaking great. I went back through and looked at all the sets and stuff, and there's like a ton of sets that have like special effects on them. Like
the crumbling castle set when Sweetums
is smashing stuff up.
He's freaking out. He's smashing up. And I was like, this is clearly like the biggest production thing they have done so far, because this looks impressive and like something that would happen on the Muppet Show and fit right in, if not like look even expensive for the Muppet Show, because the set is falling apart, there's smoke and all this stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, they had money for this one.
And the set is like fully decorated. Like the set in the Santa Claus Switch looked good and similar, but it was kind of sparse and a little bit more like abstract, and this one is just clearly a dungeon with lots of little places for the Muppet actors to squeeze in and lots of stuff to get destroyed and a big door for Sweetums to fall through. I think I just didn't like. I was excited because it was written by Jerry Jewell, so I was expecting it to be a little bit more Tinker D-y, a little bit more like snappy, but it was Cinderella-y in that it was like for kids. That's a dumb complaint about a Muppet movie about the Frog Prince, but a lot of Muppet stuff that I like is for kids, but also the jokes are for grown-ups. Not like they're dirty, but they're just like fast-paced, like old man puns and stuff. And that's the kind of thing that I like more. But this, I got the impression that it was also kind of building off of Sesame Street's fame in a big way, because like Kermit greets us with a hi-ho, which is something he only does in Sesame Street. There's a part where it plays It's Not That Easy Being Green, like in the background, tinkly piano music or something like that. I don't quite remember. So it seems more like a Sesame Street offshoot with that style of storytelling and humor than like a Muppet Show style Muppet thing. But I didn't despise it. And I actually liked Robin a lot in it, which I was not expecting.
That's surprising.
He is a whiny little guy. I hate him. But he's so cute in this, and he makes so many like funny faces and pulls like some good reactions, and he's like resting his little head on stuff and looking really depressed. So I like Robin when he's depressed, which adds up because I like Bean Bunny a lot, and Bean Bunny is basically just Robin, except he's really depressed and everybody hates him. So that was the vibe I was getting off him on this one.
Yeah, I see. For me, I think a lot of it worked in that sort of way. Like I do think it's like more childish, like it's more for kids, but Kermit's lines especially, and then some of the stuff with King Rupert / Gosh Posh. He usually does it for me, but he didn't this time. But interesting.
Sorry,
because I feel like it's sort of an evolution of both Tinker D and Hey Cinderella sort of coming together to form this thing, because we have Kermit as the narrator, we have Tamanella Grindelwald coming back. I liked that. Obviously, most people who were watching this probably hadn't seen those other things like we have now seen them. But
the only other place you could see Tamanilla, I think, would be Muppets Make Puppets briefly.
That's right, yeah. But like with us weirdos who have been watching all this old stuff, we get to see that the Tamanella character is kind of the same, which is... She's
a little less funny, I thought, but...
Yeah, but I do like that her whole thing of like bad disguises still working.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
that's
had that whole thing in Tinker D where she would just like put on a wig and she's like, "I'm the princess," and like, "You're the princess."
Yeah, that's
now
true.
It's like she puts on like this act where she tells the king like, "I'm your long lost sister," and he's like, "I don't have a sister," and she's like, "Oh yeah, what's your dad's name?" And he's like, "King Rupert the First," and she's like, "That's my dad's name."
Yeah, that was pretty good.
So she
also has a big ogre in both too.
Yeah, she had Splurge
and Charlie.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, I don't know, there was a lot of this that I really, really enjoyed, and I think it's a lot of the writing, but it's also the songs. Like, this is the first time that we've watched something where I felt like the songs in a Muppet-focused thing really stood out to me. Like, I think we talked in Great Santa Claus Switch that there are some good songs, but I think on the whole, like, every song in this really, really works and furthers the story, and also, I don't know, like, specifically the frog chant song. Like, I like Kermit being the leader of this frog pack.
Yeah, I like that too. It is a different Kermit than... He's not as cranky. He just really loves being a damn frog, which is also something that they leave behind. Well, I guess he likes being a damn frog in the Muppet movie too.
Yeah. He is much more frog-like though right now. He we have him hopping around. He does not walk.
I hate that.
It looks
That
very
freaks me out.
weird.
Yeah. He's like a marionette that they jerk around the stage when he's trying to get around.
Yeah, when the frogs are hopping, the puppets aren't moving at all. They're just on strings, and they're just like, yank. I'm gonna yank you over here, then yank. And so it's a little awkward, but it's also just weird seeing Kermit not get up and walk.
Yeah, not be like just do his little bounce to walk around.
Right.
I also hate to see him swimming. Something about his legs floating around in the water.
Yeah.
And knowing that there's like a human arm submerged in the water with him.
Yeah, it's
just
clearly
as
like
unsettling to me.
I'm guessing what it is like his limbs are so light that they kind of float.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to like move them to make it look like he's swimming, but they're also just kind of floating there.
Yeah.
So it's just like no one would ever swim in this motion ever, especially like a frog. And it looks very unnatural.
But I really liked the backwards song that they, like the duet, where she's singing the mixed up words and he's singing it back to her. That was a nice moment. I liked the Sir Robin the Brave. I liked all the songs. They were pretty good. The part where he's singing the lullaby to Sweetums.
Yeah.
This like nasty little lullaby about how ugly but nice Sweetums is. It makes him fall asleep, and then Sweetums keeps waking up and they have to sing it to him faster and faster. That was very good.
Yes. Sweetums, lay your ugly head down upon your wretched bed. Close your eyes and go to sleep. Rest, you hulking heap. Sweetums is so sweet and cute. Go to sleep, you stupid brute. So at least they got a sweet and cute in there.
But I hated Sweetums' voice in this. It was so stilted and bad.
It's interesting because we'll talk about this more. We actually have a double Muppet of the Week segment because there wasn't a ton to talk about with either of them, really. But Sweetums in this was performed by Jerry Nelson in the suit, but the voice was dubbed by Carl Banas, something like that, who was a Canadian radio announcer and voiceover artist. So I think because this was like produced in part with Canadian TV,
right?
They were just like, hey, this guy could be a good ogre voice. Or maybe they were like, hey, use this guy or we don't do your show.
Okay, that makes sense. So the Canadians ruined it again, just like they ruined Hey Cinderella.
Yeah. So this is a Carl Banas or whoever. So it is proto Sweetums. It was nice to see Sweetums pop up. I hadn't looked that up to see that this was his debut, so that was a nice little surprise.
Yeah, I went wild when he popped out of that cave.
I do think it's interesting with Tamanella, though, is like she's the only character that Jerry Jewell like exclusively performs.
Yeah.
Like he does not do a lot of puppetry or anything throughout the series of the Muppets, but Tamanella was like the one that he like honed in on. He's like, this one's mine. Nobody else is taking this from me.
Especially since she, like we said earlier, premieres in a pilot thing that never aired anywhere. Like, there's no reason for him to keep doing that voice.
Right, like they could have done what they did with Rufus, where they were just like, yeah, you're a completely different character now.
Yeah. But I guess he just liked doing it, or just for some reason they didn't think that it was weird that he was doing it and never thought to... That might have been a good Frank Oz role, though. That could have been like a Yoda type voice or something.
I feel like Frank Oz is doing like 8 characters at all times at this point. They clearly have a lack of puppeteers in this one.
He's just all the frogs in this one, basically.
Well, but you notice there's some crowd scenes in this where the king is addressing the crowd of people, his subjects. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. And half, if not almost all of the subjects are just like a head on a stick. That doesn't move at all and just has a creepy jaw that moves up and down. And they toss like 3 or 4 regular Muppets in front of them to hope you don't notice. But if you look for even longer than a second, you notice that like 90% of the Muppets that are in the background of this crowd scene are just not moving, weird puppets on sticks that they didn't have enough puppeteers to control.
And yeah, you can imagine Frank Oz under there with like a bunch of broomsticks or something.
Yeah. I picture it like a giant version of that like soldier thing that Jim Henson was showing us in the Muppets on Puppets, where it's just like you pull this and they all turn to the left, and you pull this and they all turn to the right. And I think it was just that, where they had one lever that opened all their mouths.
They couldn't have found a couple dozen Canadian people to be puppets. Come on.
just toss your hand in this, please.
Yeah. Canadians love to do stuff like that. They're putting their hands on everything.
We're going to have a Canadian sometime as a guest on this podcast who's going to like confront you about all your anti-Canadian propaganda.
These are the only 2 Canadian co-productions, I believe. So, Muppets Musicians of Bremen, I bet is too. Oh boy.
That one you might have some legitimate gripes. Just
Have you seen it?
No, I've just seen the images of the
It's
very
creepy looking.
disturbing puppets that we're going to have to watch soon.
That he used his flocking machine to make those.
Oh, maybe he shouldn't have gotten it.
Yeah.
But I think there are some definitely very enjoyable moments throughout the Frog Prince with Kermit specifically. One, we have double collar Kermit in this, which is a new evolution of Kermit that does not stay around forever, but he has 2 green collars that are sort of offset. But I think Kermit might get a little drunk.
Yeah, he gets really drunk for not very long.
Right. Like he has like one line that he delivers in like sort of a hiccuping like town drunk kind of thing. And then he quickly is not doing that anymore. But I got excited of like to see what drunk Kermit was going to be like for the rest of the special. And it just kind of goes away.
They didn't have the guts to see it.
No.
Through. Kermit must get drunk in that the new Muppet TV show, right? I feel like he gets really drunk in one.
Yeah, well, he's really responsible in it. The rest of the crew I know gets really drunk and they do a karaoke episode where they go to a bar with Ed Helms and do karaoke, and Pepe specifically gets wasted.
Yeah.
So the Muppets do get really drunk sometimes, but I don't know if Kermit has been seen drunk beyond this one line.
I think we're going to see a drunk Kermit eventually, sooner or later.
It feels like something that, like, on the Muppet Show at some point, they would have felt like, we don't care. Let's just make Kermit get drunk.
All the Muppets smoke weed in this one.
Yeah. The hidden episode.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of, in Muppet Wizard of Oz, there's a scene where they do the Poppy scene from like Wizard of Oz where they're going through, and in the old Wizard of Oz, they just sort of pass out. But in the Muppet Wizard of Oz, they fully go on like a trip where they start seeing like blacklight posters and all this stuff, and they're talking like they're high. So they allude to it, but they definitely don't like just have Kermit smoking weed.
I wonder if Jim Henson smoked weed. He seems like he could have been a straight edge guy to me.
I feel like I've never read anything about him like going out and partying. Yeah. Really. So I'd be curious.
But Frank Oz, I bet he was pounding beers all the time.
They allude to in Street Gang how at this point in their careers during the early days of Sesame Street, like Jim Henson already had some kids, whereas like Frank Oz was like single and like going out on the town. So like these guys were not like best friends hanging out behind the scenes a lot because it was like they were living very different lives. Did you understand the thing where she was saying about the break the ball in the cane?
I had accidentally read it earlier.
Oh, that's a bummer.
So I was wondering if I would have understood it as well.
I can tell you, like, obviously throughout most of the movie, she's saying things where she's just like switching the first 2 letters of something, and you're like, oh, clearly she says I dropped my ball, or I dropped, or I did this, and it's like, oh yeah, I understand what she's saying. But that one, they specifically like take 4 words and like swap the letters around. And I was trying to figure it out for like half the special, could not get it, and then finally figured it out like a minute before Robin figures it out. And I was like, aha, I did it! And I was like, oh, well, I barely am smarter than that little frog. Some other things, though, that were happening around this time, some related to Frog Prince, some not. Apparently, Sweetums did some local TV appearances to drum up interest in this. I'm guessing, I think he just went to like local markets, so wherever like the TV channels that were going to show the Frog Prince when it was first airing, he like would go to their local news and like do some appearances. Obviously can't track any of those down. Couldn't find any of those to watch. But also at this time, I think we start to see one of the early, I guess Sesame Street would help this out, obviously, that they're more well known at this point. But we get to see some early side promotion for a special, because on May 2nd, the New York Times featured Kermit as a guest book reviewer.
Oh.
He did like a whole like 2-page spread where he was reviewing books about frogs, like children's books about frogs, from the point of view of Kermit. Like Jim Henson wrote them as Kermit. And this was in the New York Times, like Sunday book review, which is, it felt like would happen now, but I was surprised it was happening so early on, and for something like The Frog Prince, that they were really trying to get this out there and promote it.
So Kermit owes his fame to Sesame Street, basically. Is that the case?
I mean, yes, I would say the shooting into superstardom for sure, because obviously I think adults knew about Kermit from seeing him on TV appearances and stuff by this point. But the general public was not starting to see Kermit as much until he was featured on Sesame Street, and then starting to do more of these TV specials.
Right.
Which they were able to promote as like, see the Sesame Street Muppets on this thing, or Jim Henson from Sesame Street on this thing. Like, it was very easy to sort of conflate the two. But they also did, which there's no footage from because they didn't air it anywhere. They did an appearance with Nancy Sinatra in Vegas in June of 1971.
That's in his little journal.
Yeah.
He helped her make up stuff for her stage show.
Yeah, which I think you were alluding to earlier about how this is sort of more for kids, and Sesame Street was very clearly for kids. And it was in that blog, they said that like this was Jim Henson trying to show people like the Muppets are not just for kids. Look, we're going to do a show in Vegas with Nancy Sinatra. We're for adults, damn it.
Which is weird because they were for adults for like up until like the year before this. It seems like that was pretty firmly established. And everybody in the mid-'60s treated them as if they were adult entertainment, basically. Like, they would say, oh, these puppets aren't for kids. But they, I mean, like, alluding to that they could be for kids, but that they clearly weren't for kids.
Yeah, if you, like, plotted it on a graph, it was like they started off, like, fully in the camp of these are the puppets that are for adults now.
Yeah,
and
they
then,
run before a very boring news show.
Right, and then it started to, like, change with Sesame Street, and people started to imagine them just as puppets for kids. And then Jim Henson had to spend the mid-'70s pushing against that by like making the Muppets Sex and Violence and the Valentine Show and then eventually the Muppet Show. And so it feels like that sort of thing where this early 70s he's like fully in the camp of like, uh-oh, what's happening? My Muppets are being taken over as a children's thing. How can I push back against this?
But then don't make the Muppet Frog Prince.
Well, I'm
That would be
thinking,
helpful.
I'm wondering if at this point he didn't yet realize how much like that image was going away.
He'd already made the Muppet Frog Prince. It was too late.
Yeah, I feel like
Okay.
we start getting in the next few years some of these more like adult-oriented things, and that's maybe him trying to crawl out of that child hole.
Okay. Don't say that.
The last thing I wanted to note about the Frog Prince is that the set designer was Bill Beaton, who the Frog Prince was the first thing he does with the Muppets, but he goes on to design sets for the Muppet Musicians of Bremen, Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and eventually Fraggle Rock. So he becomes like a major part of the Muppet crew over the next little while. But yeah, do you have any other thoughts on the Frog Prince?
I did think one interesting thing about the Frog Prince was that when I was a kid, I kind of remember when Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island were coming out and being like, oh, I don't really think I like the Muppets just being like characters in a story. Like, I like things about the Muppets. This seems weird to me. But watching all this stuff, it's kind of interesting how not weird that is and how like that was a default for them from the very beginning was just to be like actors and stuff, which is not my favorite mode of the Muppets, which is maybe why I don't like this as much and didn't like Hey Cinderella as much.
It is, yeah, I feel like Kermit's still kind of playing Kermit, so you get that role, but then you have, Robin is playing a prince in disguise, which is not typically how the Muppets are used.
Though. Not Robin's backstory, as far as I know, and any other thing. I hope.
No, yeah, Robin.
That would be creepy.
Robin has not secretly been a human this entire time.
Yeah.
Trapped in this body of a frog, just waiting for a princess to kiss him.
Do you think he killed Sweetums after he turned back into a human?
He's like, people don't believe I'm brave yet. I need to go kill that ogre.
Gotta finish this guy off, yeah. I got nothing else, though. This was just fine in my book. It was okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we didn't have a lot to say about it.
I think it's so straightforward that it's like it's a big leap for Kermit. That's for sure. Kermit has grown a lot. He is himself, but there's also not a lot of like context leading up to that, to him being that, really. I wonder if just in this one they were like, no, this is how Kermit is now.
Yeah, it's also, I think, thinking about it in the grand context of, like, Muppet things, the fact that this was sort of the last real attempt. I mean, we get Muppet Musicians of Bremen, but as far as, like, a fairy tale story goes, this was, like, sort of the end of the line of them really trying that for a long time, starting with things
this was
like
the death
Tinker
knell
D.
of Tinker D. Yeah.
Right, yeah, like they had Tinker D, they had Hey Cinderella, they've been trying to do a Cinderella or a Snow White thing forever, and we get the Frog Prince, which I think works on a lot of levels, but the fact that they didn't keep doing a ton of these fairy tale stories outside of doing them as like small sketches on other things is interesting to realize that like, oh yeah, no, like they were trying so hard to get to this point, and then once they didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, it's just a weird little side road that it's almost incomprehensible, like why he was doing it, or if it was even him, or if it was like Jerry Jewell who wanted to do this, or what if there was just external forces that Jim couldn't really control that led him to doing these fairy tale things.
Yeah, I don't know, because I guess we do, now that I'm saying all of this stuff about how they don't do this stuff ever again, we do get things like the Storyteller later on, and the Jim Henson Hour, and like, especially with the Storyteller, there are attempts to tell fables and stories with Muppets later on. So I think I'm just wrong about this entirely.
I don't know if entirely, because that is a little different. It seems like he wants to tell other kinds of stories with his creations, which has always been the case, like with the Mike Douglas show, the big weird face, and the different more experimental stuff. I think Jim likes to be experimental and try different things with puppets, but something else in the team, some other force, likes to try to do fairy tale stories with them, which is not experimental at all, which to me doesn't necessarily read as something that he was the driving force behind.
Yeah, and I think the normal Muppets shows things kind of fall somewhere in the middle ground, because you picture when you let Jim Henson just kind of go, he gets real weird. He does things like The Storyteller, which is like weird and creepy at times. He does things like Dark Crystal, which is weird and creepy. So there's lots of like, I think when you let Jim Henson go into this experimental puppet realm, he can get unsettling. If you just Google The Storyteller Jim Henson and go to image searches, every single one is a cursed image. Like, every single puppet on that list is extremely cursed. So I think that's sort of like when you're looking at like the unhinged Jim Henson and what he would be doing, it's still some sort of like fairy tale storytelling, but it's not as sweet and wholesome and Sesame Street like as the Frog Prince is. One of our Muppets of the week this week is Sam's least favorite Muppet.
I hate Beaker quite a bit too, but
but Robin is the one that we are here to talk about today, because he was the Frog Prince, the titular Frog Prince. But because there's not a ton to talk about with Robin, really, we've got two Muppets of the week this week. Sweetums is our other one because, as we alluded to earlier, Robin and Sweetums both make the premieres as Muppets in The Frog Prince. This is the first time we saw either of them. But let's focus on Sweetums first. He has gone on to be present in most Muppet things since The Frog Prince, but he's always a side character, a background character, pops in for one scene to do his shtick, and then kind of disappears. But he's been in The Muppet Show, The Muppet Movie, and even Muppet Vision 3D at Disney World.
Yes, in real life.
Yeah, he's the only Muppet to appear live in the show, because he is performed by a cast member at Disney World running around in a suit. Every other Muppet in Muppet Vision 3D is either an animatronic moving around like a robot, or is just on the screen, which I think just having that small element makes Muppet Vision so good, to have like a giant Sweetums run out into the audience.
I freaking love Muppet Vision.
Yeah. Maybe by the time we get to the era of Muppet Vision 3D, we will have had like time to go to see Muppet Vision 3D, one of us at least.
Or it'll be torn down or something.
No, don't say that.
It'll happen eventually.
No, we can't let that happen. That's the next goal of all the Muppet podcasts, is to band together and like form a line standing in front of Muppet Vision 3D. We'll all go chain
ourselves to Muppet Vision 3D,
But yeah, if you don't know Sweetums based on, you know, what we're talking about, he is the big brown hairy ogre with yellow eyes and just a big old mouth that just kind of slops open.
Do his eyes always glow, or do they just glow in this?
I don't think so. I don't know if it's just in this, but I know that I don't remember them glowing at least this brightly or anything.
No, I don't either.
In other things. So I don't think they do. When I was looking up stuff about Sweetums, and like, when I look at him, it's one of those things again where you're looking at this puppet and you're like, okay, how does someone perform that? Because like we talked about The Secrets of Big Bird, where it's a hand above your head with all this stuff. Turns out Sweetums' performer uses their right arm to either operate the mouth or the right arm. Like you have to choose. So when the right arm is moving, the mouth can't move on its own, and vice versa. So they'll pin the right arm to the body when the mouth needs to move.
You can't choose while you're in the suit.
No, I guess not. Yeah, you'd have to make that decision of is this a scene where Sweetums is going to be talking? If so, pin that arm down. But I think they also do it where we'll just swing freely sometimes, and it's just focus on the face, don't focus on his arms. That's not doing anything.
Yeah, he's kind of a big floppy guy.
Yeah.
So it's probably not that big a deal.
And this is also they're getting into the era where they're using more remote control stuff. So his eyes and eyebrows are controlled with remote controls.
Oh,
Yeah.
Even in 71?
I mean, I didn't find the exact date on when that started, and I don't remember if his eyebrows move a lot in this or not. But I know that when his eyes and eyebrows start to have movement, they are controlled by remote control. But I know that the remote control stuff started to happen a lot earlier than I feel like people would think. There's lots of old behind-the-scenes footage stuff where they're using some of these marionette puppets, but their faces are controlled by remote control, and you see puppet performers sitting off to the side with a little Muppet head on their hand, controlling it remotely.
Right. Huh. I guess we were going to the moon in 1971, so we probably could make a puppet's face move.
Yeah, they just ask NASA, hey, can we have some of that technology and put it in our puppets, please? The Sweetums, speaking of how he's performed, has been performed by a handful of different people throughout his life, I guess we'd say. Like I mentioned earlier, he's performed by Jerry Nelson in The Frog Prince, but was overdubbed by Carl Bananana, whatever his face is. But later on, he would be performed more regularly by Richard Hunt from 1975 through 1991. So the bulk of the performances of The Muppet Show and The Muppet Movie and all that stuff was Richard Hunt. Aside from one time in 1975, Sweetums appears on Cher's show, because she had a variety show thing as well. And Jim Henson actually performed Sweetums on that.
His voice?
I think so. It seemed what I found was Jim Henson performed Sweetums for this show. And they sing That Old Black Magic, which I can't find a clip of, and it's very annoying because that's a song from the Sam and Friends era, and it just feels like a full circle nice moment, but I can't find a clip of that, unfortunately.
Huh.
But after Richard Hunt's death in 1991 or 1992, I believe, John Henson took over as Sweetums. John Henson, one of the other Henson children. There's a bunch of them, and they've all been involved to varying degrees in the Henson legacy. But he played Sweetums from 1991 to 2005, and it seemed like from what I read on John Henson, he got pretty heavily involved in Henson stuff after Jim Henson died. Mm-hmm. He wasn't necessarily super involved until after that, but I think it was sort of that, after his dad died, he felt like he wanted to be a bigger part of this. And then for a while, Sweetums wasn't really popping up and stuff in that mid-2000s era. But since 2009, Matt Vogel, who is also Big Bird and Kermit and just pretty much everybody else at this point, has been playing Sweetums since then. And there's not a lot, like I said earlier, there's not a lot to know about Sweetums outside of what we see in the movies themselves. The only other sort of fun fact behind the scenes thing I could find is that he apparently has a mom. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. We're recording this on Mother's Day. But she is only shown in one comic book. They did a series of comic books with Boom Comics a while back, and at one point, Sweetums' mom is in the audience at one of the performances. But beyond that, we don't know much about Sweetums other than he's this big, hairy ogre.
He and Robin show up in a lot of stuff together, right?
Yeah, I think they like the contrast in size. They're like, hey, look at the big one and the little one. And so, yeah, there's a handful of times where they do some sketches together on The Muppet Show. I know there's some toys and figurines and stuff that are Robin sitting on Sweetums' shoulder,
right?
And stuff.
It looks like it's something that happens more in promotional stuff than actually happens in anything else.
Yeah, maybe they're Robin's too small to make a toy of. People are gonna lose it or choke on it. Let's just attach him to the Sweetums toys.
Right.
Well, and internally they would know that hey, these two premiered in the same thing. They go way back, but the majority of people who watch Muppet stuff now have not seen The Frog Prince, and so they don't necessarily realize that Sweetums and Robin made their premiere together.
Yeah.
Which is another thing where I'm just I don't know who owns the rights to these things, CBC, whether it's Henson or Disney or whatever, but I just really wish they would start putting some of these up on Disney Plus in a higher quality. Because like even if they're not all like A+, everyone should watch them type of things, I think they deserve to be seen more widely.
Yeah. I agree.
But speaking of the little Robin, Sam's least favorite Muppet, he is the sweet, innocent little kid frog Muppet who sings sweet songs and is beloved by all except Sam. He's Kermit's nephew now. He was not at the time. They do not reference that in the Frog Prince. He doesn't actually really become Kermit's nephew until like season 2 of the Muppet Show. He shows up before that, but they don't call it out before that. He's a tiny little green frog. He looks a lot like Kermit if you sort of like squished Kermit down. It's like Kermit without a neck. And then on the Muppet Babies, he's a little tadpole in a fishbowl, which is like sort of where I first remember Robin, like knowing who Robin was and knowing their relationship of like uncle and nephew, because
Yep, exactly same here.
I have a nephew who's only like a year and a half younger than me. So when I was a really little kid, I was already an uncle. And so I was like, uncle characters in things were really like, they stood out to me. And the fact that like in Fraggle Rock, you have Uncle Traveling Matt. And I was like, that's my name. And he's an uncle. That's just me.
You've been an uncle since the day you were born.
Oh, I mean, almost. I feel like this Robin, Kermit, uncle-nephew relationship is one of those things that, as far as Muppet lore goes, I have known about as long as anything else. And I think most people probably, when they think of Robin, think of him playing Tiny Tim in A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Sure.
Because that's just the saddest, cutest little performance.
Yeah, I guess so.
As far as performers go, Jerry Nelson was playing Robin from 1971 to 2003. But actually in The Frog Prince, Jerry Nelson is just voicing Robin, and Frank Oz did the puppetry.
I was wondering about that, because he does some real funny stuff in that. And he's making some really funny faces and reactions and stuff that did not feel like anything he would ever do again. Yeah,
there's definitely some different puppetry. It's sort of like we talked about in the Sesame Street pitch reel, where Kermit's like making faces and pulling looks that you're like, Kermit wouldn't do this, so somebody else must be in there. And I think that was one of those things too, where you're just like, either Robin changed a lot as a character after this, or somebody else was just in charge. And I think it's that somebody else was just in charge, and is obviously he's a brand new character as well. But yes, Frank Oz did the puppetry in The Frog Prince for Robin. I also like, going back to Frog Prince just for a minute, there are a couple moments where the puppetry is exposed in The Frog Prince. There's one point where they do a pretty good job. Like 99% of the time, there's a lot of transitional moments where like Robin's in a basket talking, and then somebody goes and like picks up the basket, and it's seamless, and like it's like, whoa, he was just a puppet and now he's walking away in a basket. But one of the times that they do that, they pick him up and you just see a square cut out in the table. And you see like a hand or a head or something for like a few frames, and you're just like, oh, look, there's Frank Oz down in that box.
I didn't notice that. Was it a bald head? Was he bald yet?
I think he's always been bald.
I think he's always been bald.
I don't think he ever had hair
since the day he was born.
Yeah.
No.
Around 2008, Matt Vogel started playing Robin.
Oh my God.
Yep, he's
gotta
everywhere.
get more guys. Come on.
And he played Robin up until 2017, when Peter Linz took over. That's when Matt Vogel became Kermit.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh, well, if Kermit and Robin are going to be interacting a lot, we should probably get somebody else to be Robin.
What has Robin been showing up in lately?
He is in an episode of Muppets Now, is the most recent thing he has done on Disney Plus. He apparently plays like a social media intern in one of the episodes.
Oh, he's in the Muppets TV show too, the ABC thing.
Yeah, there's a very good episode of that where he is coming to visit his Uncle Kermit, and he doesn't know that Kermit and Piggy have broken up. And so Kermit and Piggy pretend to be back together, and they like take him to laser tag and all this stuff to try and make him have a good day before they break his heart. The only fun fact I have about Robin, which is not that fun of a fact, but I think segues us nicely into your feelings on Robin, is that Ricky Gervais has cited Robin as his favorite Muppet.
Oh, come on.
So you're like the anti-Ricky Gervais, which I feel like
that's great.
You could put in your Twitter bio and be proud of.
How could anybody like him after that? That makes sense for him too, because he's so like insincerely sappy in the same way that Robin is. Robin, fuck that guy. He's fun. He was really cute in this, and I think it was a lot of the body language was really cute in this. Jerry Nelson's cute voice just pushes my buttons for some reason.
So do you not like Emmett Otter either?
Mm-mm.
Oh, so
I don't like the I'm not really crazy about some of the Fraggles either because they're him, right?
Because Jerry Nelson has a very specific, sweet little kid voice that he does for things like Emmett Otter and Robin and a lot of characters.
It just sounds so patronizing to me, is what it is. I like Halfway Up the Stairs, which is kind of like his thing, like his song that he sings, like his showstopper.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very sweet. That's fine. Just when he's bouncing around, being like, Uncle Kermit, is this how the Muppets really met? It's just like, shut up, kid. He's all the worst parts of Kermit, which I've said before. He's all the worst parts of Kermit. He's the sentimental stuff, but without the like edge or any like funniness. He's purely sweet, no funny. So he just seems like pointless to me. I don't want to see that. Get that out of here.
I understand that though, because I think what makes those sentimental moments work really well for the other Muppets when they do their like more serious songs or serious moments is the fact that we have seen like it's a contrast to what they normally are, or it's like stepping outside their normal personality. And for him, the fact that he is always sort of that sweet, naive character, it's not a contrast. It's just more and
you know what
ramped
you're
up.
getting when he shows up on screen. But it is like Rolf in the Jimmy Dean Show was extremely sentimental, but he'd only get that way after he and Jimmy had a little fight, or like he was usually kind of gruff and silly. So when he'd show up and do something sweet, he'd be like, oh, he's a softie after all, like exactly like you said. And then they'd sing their nice little song at the end, and you'd be like, my heart. But if Robin, it's just like nothing. I don't feel a thing about Robin.
Well, it feels like you feel a lot about Robin, and it's extreme hatred.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't have any strong feelings about Robin either way. Like, I think he works really well as Tiny Tim in Muppet Christmas Carol, but he's definitely not my favorite Muppet. He's probably not even cracking the top like 20.
Yeah, you're nothing like Ricky Gervais either.
No, thank God. Yeah, I don't find him as offensive as you do, and I think the Jerry Nelson sweet voices, I agree, can feel a little maybe disingenuous at times, but I really enjoy Emmett Otter. Because I think you only get Emmett Otter in the one context, in the one movie, you can sort of just buy into the sappiness that it has.
Sure. But
yeah, I think when you have like characters like Gonzo and Fozzie and Rolf around, and all of a sudden here comes Robin, it's like, oh God, here he comes.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Like, it does feel like the adults are hanging out, and suddenly the kid comes in and is like, let me show you a trick. And you're just like, okay, do it.
That's literally exactly what I was about to say. It's like you're hanging out with you're hanging out with the boys, and then your little freaking nephew comes in and is so boring, and he makes you play video games with him, and he has to win or else he cries.
Well, how do you feel about Sweetums?
I like Sweetums all right.
Yeah.
He sometimes can hit kind of the same note for me where he is kind of weirdly sentimental for a big guy.
But see, I think that works better because of the contrast. You don't expect it from him. Guy.
Yeah. I think I have an early appreciation for him from Muppet 3D. What's it called? Muppet Vision 4D.
3D.
It's not 4D?
No. It should be.
It should be because there's bubbles hitting your face.
Yeah.
So come on.
Bubbles are the fourth dimension.
Yeah, don't you know? So I think I have an early appreciation from him there, and he's pretty good in the Muppet Show too, or the Muppet movie. God, he to me is a 2.5 star, perfectly in the middle Muppet. If we're going back to 5 stars instead of 50 to 60 or however many.
Our completely arbitrary star rating. But Robin gets how many?
Robin, I think, is a 1 star because there are actually a few Muppets that bother me more than him.
I think it would be interesting to see Robin in like a conniving role, which I think he might have a little moment like that in the ABC Muppets sitcom. It's been a while since I watched it, but I think he at one point like he knows that they're broken up and he's like maybe using it to get to do fun things.
Yeah, he is. I think you're right.
And I like the idea of, again, playing against type. Like, you see this sweet little frog, but you find out that he's actually like pulling some strings and being a little bit of a jerk.
Yeah, that's what makes Huey, Dewey, and Louie so good as other nephew characters.
Right. If we're comparing nephews, I think that's where we start to get into the ranking of nephews. Right now, yes. Robin's a lot lower than Huey, Dewey, and Louie, but
he really is.
He could work
He's
his way
not
up.
as low as Morty and Ferdy. Because, come on, who even knows who they are?
I don't even know those names you just said.
Mickey's nephews.
Oh, okay. Now I can picture them. But I could not have named them for $1,000.
Those are trash nephews, yeah.
So obviously this week we watched a lot of Muppet stuff. I even added to it by watching the Street Gang documentary, which is like now on demand for rent. I actually also just recently watched that 50 Years of Sunny Days special they had on ABC.
How was it?
It's pretty good. I like Street Gang more because Street Gang's a lot more about the behind the scenes, the beginning, and talking about the like how Sesame Street actually became a thing. Whereas the 50 Years of Sunny Days is definitely like a retrospective, let's look at every era of Sesame Street. So they basically are taking all the years of Sesame Street and compacting it into 2 hours, whereas Street Gang is really talking about like the first 5 years of Sesame Street and putting that into 2 hours. Right. And then there's also the Street Gang book, which like as far as like an adaptation goes of like the documentary versus the book, very similar, very similarly structured. And basically you could watch the Street Gang documentary and get the gist, but if you want to know more about all the performers on Sesame Street, and they don't talk about Richard Hunt like at all in Street Gang, the movie, and they talk about him a lot in the book. So it's if you want to know more about the people who work behind the scenes and more of the puppeteers and more of like the first third of the book is all about like pre Sesame Street actually taping of like the research that went into everything, and they obviously they're not going to spend a third of the documentary talking about the research and all that stuff. So it's the changes are understandable and like things they cut and things they had to abbreviate, but all good. But I did also watch non-Muppet stuff this week. Hard to believe that I found time. Did you watch any non-Muppet stuff this week, Sam?
I watched one single non-Muppet thing, so by default it's my thing.
What was it?
It is a movie from around the same time period, 1973, and it is called The Last Detail. And it's a Jack Nicholson movie directed by Hal Ashby, who directed Harold and Maude. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I am aware of what it is.
Yeah. He was just a prolific 70s director. And it's about Jack Nicholson and Otis Young, who play two kind of like hardened lifer Navy men. And they are tasked with bringing a young Randy Quaid to military prison because he stole $40 and they sent him off to military prison. So they have to bring him from like DC up to upstate New York, and along the way they have little 70s type adventures and learn a lot about the nature of like serving the man and like being part of the military machine, and also having a little bit of fun. But it was really good. I hate 70s movies generally, but I liked this one quite a bit. But also it's the only thing I watched, so that has to be the thing.
The only real things non-Muppety that I watched this week were all Star Wars related.
Oh, because, of course they were. You watched The Bad Batch, right?
Yeah, it's Star Wars week. It was May the 4th this past week. So we celebrated that by watching Last Jedi. And then we also, on May the 4th, The Bad Batch started on Disney+. So I've also watched the first 2 episodes of that now.
How's that?
It's pretty good. It seems like it's just sort of a continuation of the Clone Wars series that like wrapped up last year. Some Star Wars fans are upset about things it is doing because it seems to like adjust some canon a little bit as far as certain things happening. And there's, I don't know, it's, again, as my Twitter bio says, life is too short to argue about Star Wars because the things that people are getting upset about are so minor and so small that I'm like, you remember like 6 years ago when Disney was like, yeah, all that stuff you love isn't canon anymore. Like, we've been through worse as far as Star Wars fans go. So the fact that it's changing, like, this character wasn't actually there and now they were, it's like, okay. It's not like Darth Vader was doing something different. It's this little side character that, like, whatever. Not important. But, yeah, I've been watching The Bad Batch. I think that's kind of the only, like, new non-Muppety thing I watched this week.
That's even Muppet adjacent. That barely counts.
I guess. I mean, like, Frank Oz being involved is the closest thing it comes to being a Muppet.
Yoda is basically a Muppet. Come on.
Kinda.
Yeah, he is.
He was puppeteered by Frank Oz and a woman who also worked on the Muppet Show. So he's very close to being a Muppet. But the Jim Henson like company did not create Yoda.
Okay.
Jim Henson did
Allegedly.
advise.
Yeah.
I think he was like, hey, here's how to make a good puppet. And they were like, cool, we got this.
Yeah. He sent him a bad sketch of Yoda. It's like, this is Yoda.
Yeah, why does he have giant sharp teeth? Oh, man. I just got in the mail a couple more Muppet books. I'm building out my Henson library a little bit. I got the Muppet Character Encyclopedia, and I also got the Doodles and Drawings Jim Henson book. The Doodles and Drawings book is so good because it's just a whole book of Jim Henson's doodles of a lot of early characters and ideas that were abandoned for either characters or full shows and things. But looking at his versions of like Big Bird and Sweetums and all these characters, just like, God bless all these like Muppet makers who could take these things and translate them, whether it was Don Saleen or other people later on. Because this man could draw cute things, but not cute things that could ever be actual puppets.
Yeah, I'd love to know if he ever went into the workshop and saw the stuff and was like, hey, I didn't draw it that way.
Yeah.
Make him uglier.
Well,
His head's too big.
Have you seen his like early drawing of one of his early drawings of Big Bird? I want to send you this one that is just a chicken, pretty much. If you type in like Jim Henson Big Bird drawing, you'll see this is one of the top results. And it's just a chicken that's not cute or charming at all, really. And somehow that...
Oh, no.
Yeah, that became Big Bird. But yeah, I have, I think, decided that I'm probably going to get some sort of Jim Henson sketch as a tattoo at some point. I think this is something that I've...
The chicken, you're going to get the chicken.
Not the chicken's low on the list of potential tattoos, but there's a very early sketch of Kermit that I really like that he did in like the 50s or early 60s from like the old Sam and Friends type of days. That's very good. Like clearly it's Kermit, but it doesn't really look like... It looks like a kid tried to draw Kermit. But yeah, I've debated coming out of pandemic times what the first tattoo I will get will be, and will it be Star Wars or Muppets? And I think it might be Muppets.
But either way, it'll definitely be on your face.
Exactly. Just a little sketchy Kermit right under my eyeball. I bet there's some really bad Kermit tattoos out there in the world.
We could do a retrospective. That could be one of our live streams. We could look at them.
Ooh, and maybe like we'll do that after I get my tattoo.
Oh, there's some bad ones I'm looking at.
I do see one with Kermit as the Hulk, which is on somebody's body forever. There's some really good ones too. So, you know what?
Yeah.
Good job, people.
We can highlight the good and the bad.
Yeah.
A lot of them smoking cigarettes and weed and stuff.
I mean, and some people have gotten the like Kermit drinking tea meme tattooed on them. And I'm like, if you're getting a meme tattoo, whew, that's a choice. There is a lot of the like Kermit ripping out through your skin tattoos.
Yeah,
which is a surprising
as well.
like theme that I would not have expected. Oh, there's a Kermit pinhead from Hellraiser.
Why?
Great question.
Okay, we're gonna put a collection of these together. We'll talk about them.
Yeah, we'll do like a live stream or something like that so we can show them off. We're going to next week be wrapping up 1971, and we're going to be doing that by watching an entire episode of the Dick Cavett Show. And that is because Jim Henson and the Muppet performers and a bunch of Muppets show up for the entire like hour and a half. They're there the whole time. And we get a lot more like behind the scenes chat that we haven't seen lately. Like we got a lot of on the Mike Douglas Show, but it's been like, I don't know, 6-7 years since the Mike Douglas Show appearances. So yeah, we'll get some more of that behind the scenes chat from Jim Henson and Frank Oz. We'll get Dick Cavett Show, which I always enjoy watching old clips of because it's just a type of talk show that does not exist anymore. And we'll also watch another Flip Wilson Show appearance. We've got a couple more of those to get through in the next couple of episodes. But yeah, so Dick Cavett Show is our main event of the next episode. And you can find the link to that playlist on our Twitter account, which is @CommitmentPod. We want to thank our friend Tuna for creating the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. You can email us, mail@commitment.com, if you have any Muppet memories you'd like to share, or if you just have like a favorite Muppet you want to rant about for a while. We welcome any of that kind of mail. You can rate and review and follow and subscribe this podcast wherever you listen to it. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's @MatthewGatos.
And I'm @SlamSchultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.